I don't know if this is a good habit I'm getting into, but a couple times now across a couple episodes, I finished it, saved it, and immediately deleted it and started over. So that's where we are right now. But it was a solid day, aside from the stop and start here with this thing. But did a partner workout to kick the day off at open gym, which is always one of my favorite times. I like open gym mainly because you kind of get to see what. It's always interesting seeing what people do. When they're not getting force fed the workout that we give them day to day. When they come into the group class, we're like, "Hey, you're doing this." It's fun to see what movements they pick, what they work on, how they approach these things. How they operate during open gym. I love open gym because it's just like ultra mega social hour, and also we kind of have a dog friendly gym. I know there's like a lot of different thoughts and policies out there on this. All of them probably pretty valid to those individuals, but I like the way Mafia runs it. Today I think there was like 5 or 6 dogs in the gym at once, which was chaos. I found out our oldest, he hates remote control cars. We were outside walking them. Some people are on a run, and I also love seeing like families work out together, and also just like people who are the heads of their families sort of corralling their family or managing their family while they're working out. It's just really impressive to me. But anyway, there was a family, they were running and pushing some strollers, and some of their other 50,000 kids that they have were walking or jogging behind them, and one of them was driving a little remote control car, and Riven went bonkers. And basically, I think thought he was trying to protect everybody from the remote control car. He was really pissed at it. But there's an upside to this. Gave me a nice little distraction to take a break from my workout when it happened again, the partner workout. And it's also going to be a great excuse to buy a remote control car so I can quote unquote train him to be less reactive toward them. But really what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to tell Cassandra, is I'm just going to duct tape a stake to this remote control car and drive around the backyard and watch the dogs lose it, which is going to be fantastic. The workout. 4 time with a partner. It was 50 power cleans, 135, 95, and then 50 bar muscle ups, and then 50 front rack lunges, and then 35 bar muscle ups, 50 synchronized burpees, 20 bar muscle ups. Haven't done them in a while, so needed to make up for it. And then finished off with 50 more power cleans, 95, 135. You could break the reps up however with your buddy. I think we did 5s on the cleans. Kind of somewhere between 5s and 8s on the bar muscle ups. The lunges we did 10s-ish, and the burpees were synchronized, so just kind of chipped away through those. Finished in under 20 minutes. I don't remember the exact time. It was like 18, something like that, maybe a little less. It was one of those like open gym, right? So somebody's using the clock. The clock was already 8 minutes, and we started. And I'm just so thrilled to do partner workouts anyway. I'm not really paying attention to anything else. But I really like that workout. And speaking of, kind of received the first question via comments for the pod of the day, which I super loved. So if anybody else wants to comment, ask questions, talk shit, please do. I'm happy to respond. But a couple of days ago on this podcast, I was talking about how I think CrossFit is a fitness methodology that is basically built to evolve and change. I think there are some core ingredients to it that give it its CrossFittiness. But aside from that, if you look at like what's happened and how it's been applied, I do see it changing. And I think sometimes I think it's a little weird when people get a little I think it's a little odd when people get really dogmatic on what it is and isn't. But anyway, so this question was fantastic. Do you think there could ever be a time when CrossFit changes too much? Yes, I could think of a time when it changes too much. My biggest issue with this is that I just don't see that happening right now, especially in my experience of like journeying around to affiliates and talking to other coaches. I could be naive. I don't think that's the case. And then he says, I'm assuming, maybe it's for the worse or turns into something completely different. I'm a fan of change personally. So for the worse, what do I think would make it for the worse? I think a couple of things would make it for the worse. One, I think if it stopped being outcome oriented around fitness. Two, I think if our goal was to make it easier for everybody. I'm not talking about scaling. That's different. Scaled workouts are still challenging when scaled appropriately for the individual. I think if our goal was like to go out of our way to make it so it's like, oh, we don't want you to have any hardship or struggle when you do a CrossFit workout. I think that would make it for the worse. I think the other thing that would make it for the worse is if we wanted to take the application of the fitness program out of the hands of the lay person. And that means, no offense to anyone who's coaching or doing CrossFit. I came into it with no background in fitness, which is something about CrossFit that pisses a lot of people off. Whatever. And I think if we tried to make it like supremely wonkish or academic, would be a mega bummer. It could turn into something completely different. And then the last part here the commenter said was, I guess, what's the threshold for it being worse or completely different? I feel like we covered that. And who determines that? Oof, that's a good one. I hope there is no who determiner. But I would think it would be the people actually doing it, the exercise, the fitnessing. And I used to try and tell coaches that I would teach or train or work with or talk to that if you are keeping your athletes safe, they're happy with the results, they're healthy, they keep coming back, they're seeing progress, and you're doing constantly varied functional movements executed at high intensity, I think you're doing a great job. And you shouldn't give anything. Don't care about anything about what people say about your programming if those things are happening. And I think where people get wrapped around the axle, and I want to get out of this topic, it's already been 7 minutes, but I think where people get wrapped around the axle is what is constantly varied functional movements executed at high intensity mean. But I will say this one last thing about it. If CrossFit is outcome-based, what that does imply is that then there is an optimal level of variance, there's an optimal application of functional movements, and there's an optimal level of intensity for individuals doing the program, which leaves a lot of wiggle room for application. But anyway, okay, way too much time on that one. Great question. Probably didn't answer it, but would love to keep talking about it. And that's probably a maddeningly unhelpful answer. But anyway, that gets us to the next piece, Coddiwomple. I wanted to talk about this. I think it needs to be the new name of the show. It means to travel in a purposeful manner towards a vague destination. And if I've ever heard a single word that sort of summed up my approach to life, this was it. I guess it's an English slang term, stumbled on it on the internet today, not to be confused with cattywampus, which basically means like snafu, like the shit's going off the rails, going wrong or awkwardly. But Coddiwomple, to travel in a purposeful manner towards a vague destination. And if that's not what we're doing here, I don't know what we're doing. So I do think that should be the new name of the show. Might be like a little attention grabbing too. That doesn't roll off the tongue as nicely as I would want it to, especially given what how it's defined. But I just think it's and I've said this before, if I knew exactly where the finish line was and what it looked like, I probably wouldn't want to run that race. So, kind of a little bit of vague and ambiguity at the end is something I'm a huge fan of. But I don't know where we're going, but we are going to march right at it. I think it's just like, such a fantastic way to live. That probably drives some people insane, and I totally understand why. But it can lead you to some good things too. Love learning new things. Finish off the day creating a little like a souped up tuna sandwich, really inspired by like a Provençal like salad niçoise sandwich. I believe it's pronounced pain banaye. Oof, that probably sounds more Russian than it does French, but really delicious. I'll put it in the show description if somebody wants to give it a shot and share food with others, or just try it out themselves. Probably got some things in there not everyone loves. little hard-boiled egg, like an olive paste, some tomato on like a really nice toasted baguette with an insane amount of olive oil, as all good food should have. But it was really delicious. I was glad I made it, and I'm excited to see if anybody else would ever wants to try it, or I get to make it for anyone else. But that's where we are at today, just coddywompling down the path. See you guys tomorrow.